Weapon parts. Why do they exist? The most recent patch where they were nerfed has brought to light an issue that most of the community didn't really know about. It's something that most players have never considered an issue since they were just abundant enough to never be a problem. As someone who plays Destiny as a living, I have such an abundance of them that I could probably go a few years without needing them again. But back to the original question, why do weapon parts even exist? When Destiny was in its infancy, we can see some pretty heavy MMO influences. You have to grind for planetary materials, reputation, marks, and a whole bunch of other things that affect the overall economy. One of the things is weapon parts. They were, and still are, one of two materials that can only be obtained through dismantling gear, the other being armor materials. Weapon parts are slightly unique though because they are also used in the reforging process in House of Wolves and all House of Wolves weapons currently. In the present day though, aside from being used to get a paltry amount of rep, they're used in the crucial application of infusion and upgrading your weapons. For example, right now if I get a new weapon from the raid, I have to spend 15 weapon parts to fully upgrade the weapons nodes once I have put enough XP into it. This isn't that bad though really. The big kicker comes from infusion. Every time you infuse a weapon, it will cost 10 weapon parts. So let's list off the requirements of everything that you would get when upgrading and infusing a weapon. Number 1, the XP required to upgrade all of the nodes. Number 2, the 1200 glimmer for all 3 nodes plus 250 glimmer each time you infuse it. Number 3, you require 15 planetary materials depending on the weapon. For number 4, you need 1 mode of light for each infusion, and number 5, you need 3 legendary marks for each infusion. So you effectively need 5 separate things before you even get to weapon parts. When you list all of it out, it starts to get a little bit ridiculous. Earlier I stated that Destiny has some pretty hefty MMO influences. I'm going to use WoW as an example here because I'm still a WoW addict, but I just don't play anymore. In that game, you have the option of different enchants to put on your weapons. These require different amounts of materials based on the potency of the enchantment. You could also reforge the stats at the cost of gold, but the enchantment analogy is going to work best here. The highest level enchants cost quite a few materials, and unless you're an enchanter yourself, chances are you didn't have the required materials and you had to go buy the enchant off the auction house, or you had a guild that could just supply you with everything. The point is, the game designers knew there was a large time requirement in getting these enchants to maximize your character's stats. Trading was the solution. Since Bungie has already made it abundantly clear that player trading is not something they are interested in putting into the game, they need to examine the system from a solo player perspective now. In regard to the economy, they can't use traditional MMO logic since player trading is almost always a thing in those games. I have a few ideas that could be done here. The biggest change could simply be to just remove weapon parts. Since they can only be obtained through dismantling weapons that do not always drop or are dependent on RNG, they shouldn't be required material for upgrading weapons. If Bungie wants to keep them in, then they need to first undo the nerf, and also reduce the amount needed for infusion. 10 parts every time quickly adds up, since most weapons will have to be infused at least 5 to 7 times to get them to max light. They've stated quite a few times that they don't want there to be many barriers between a player acquiring a new weapon and using it in its fully upgraded state. It's very clear right now that they need to reevaluate the economy in that regard. As a side note, I also believe that weapons need to get more XP from turning in bounties and killing stuff. As of right now, you can use a telemetry and turn in a full grip of bounties and not even upgrade the first node. I know motes of light are kind of the primary way to quickly level up weapons, but there needs to be slightly faster options out there for players who don't have 1.5k motes of light sitting in their inventory like me. That's only slightly related to this whole argument though, since not using motes to level a weapon will mean it just takes a few days to fully upgrade a weapon's nodes. So what do you think about this whole weapon part thing? Should they still be in the game? Do they still have a place, but need to be reworked into the overall game more? Let me know in the comments. I also want to do more stuff like these rants in the future, so if you have topics, post them in the comments as well. I'll see if I can make a video on it. This has been Patrick Casey with PlanetDestiny, your guide to the Destiny universe.